Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 500 of the BoxHard Podcast. I cannot believe that it's been going for this long, since obviously September 2015. We're now in May of 2025, so it's going to be the 10-year anniversary soon, but just to get to 500 episodes is absolutely insane. I still can't quite believe it sometimes. Anyway, I'm your host, Joey Coastman. I'm joined, as always, by former heavyweight world title challenger, the main man himself, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. We're going to dive then straight into the review part of the show. We got a card here that took place. We're going to start here with the one in America, actually. It took place on the Saturday, so the 17th of May, 5 days ago now, at the Commerce Casino in California, USA. Over here we had super flyweight females getting it on for the WBO world title. Mizuki Hiruta, still the champion, still undefeated, now 8-0, a unanimous decision there over 10-2s against Carla Marino, now 16-3. Like I say, a successful defense there for the WBO super flyweight world title. Also on that card, we had Sergei Boachuk, 25-2, stepping in the ring with Michael Fox, friend of the show. He's now 24-5. Boachuk is, though, 26-2. A unanimous decision for Boachuk over 10 rounds there. Really, really good fight. I know that you didn't see that fight, Eddie, but I would have liked to have seen what you thought of it if you did watch it. Boachuk was obviously on the front foot. It was a really, really, really tiny ring that Tom Loeffler got for this fight in mind, I would have thought, and Michael Fox didn't really have too much kind of room to move around. However, there probably should have been a knockdown scored in the final round for Michael Fox, which is quite surprising. Michael Fox obviously not known for his power. And he put Boachuk down. It wasn't a heavy shot. It was more probably like an off-balance kind of shot. But, a punch did land. But yeah, Michael Fox, for the most part, was sort of on the ropes. He was, boxing and switch hitting, things like that, doing things to frustrate Boachuk. And I think he did a good job of it. And yeah, like I say, there were a lot of very, very close rounds. I think that Michael Fox had an argument for winning the fight. It was that close. But yeah, obviously the judges favoured Boachuk's come forward style, which I've been told is a massive thing in California. They, the judges out there really seem to, apparently anyway, favour the fighter coming forward, the aggressor. Not necessarily that the judges are big fans of kind of, skillful boxing off the back foot. So that kind of worked against Michael Fox. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't a disgraceful showing. Like I say, he got in there with a true world level fighter. Michael Fox is always going to give anyone in the world issues. The height, the reach, obviously, and the fact that he was switch hitting the other night. I really liked what he was doing. At times he was hitting Boachuk with some fantastic uppercuts. The only thing he lacks is power, and that's just the one thing. You can't have it all. That's the one thing he lacks. And obviously when he boxes these big punching guys, then that's a statistic in their favour. Was you going to say something, Eddie? I don't think you saw that fight.
No, I was going to say I've had my experiences with
being the B side and things like that, and them putting you in there with the house fighter and making sure they that you have every disadvantage possible. Like, for example, you mentioned the small ring for Michael Fox, and I'm thinking, and I'm rewinding time back, thinking about my fight with Samuel Peter. We fought on the stage at the Nokia Theater in California, in LA, and the ring had to be one of the smallest rings I've ever seen in an actual professional fight. It had to be 16 by 16, which I think is the smallest allowed. But then also the floor was extremely soft. And what they call those are puncher's rings, so that you can't, get up on your toes is easy. It's going to take a lot of work to do it. But they don't understand with me. And I mean, I moved a little. I'm actually a kind of a come forward guy myself. So even though I'm not the power puncher like a Sam Peter was, the situation was set up for him to, do the business and knock me out. So that's, I'm just thinking about those things, and it's the same crap, different situation, different day. You understand what I'm saying? It's always going to be this way in boxing, as long as boxing is the way it is. And I mean, hey, look, if you're gonna win, you got to come through those things. And unfortunately, Michael Fox was not the house guy. So, and that's probably why even a close decision wasn't enough. It wasn't going to be the way for him to win.
Yeah, the scorecard's wide in the end, which was distasteful. Moving now then to the final card to mention on this review part, we're going to go here to the Copper Box Arena in London, United Kingdom. Let's touch on the undercard first. We had friend of the show, Shannon Ryan, moving to 9-1 in her 10th pro fight. A points win for her over 8. Very predictable outcome there against Farah El Busiri, who's now 10-6. Shannon Ryan, though, knocked down in the 3rd round. I haven't actually seen it, so I want to go and take a look at that, actually. But still managed to get up and win the fight on points. We also had a win for John Hedges, now 11-0. It wasn't the most entertaining fight I've seen, that's for sure. A unanimous decision for him over 10 rounds for the vacant English cruiserweight title against Nathan Quarlis, who's now 13-2. We also had George Liddard in a good win. He's now 12-0, a TKO for him in the 5th round against Aaron Sutton, who's now 19-2. Sutton down in the 1st round, in the 2nd round, and in the 5th round, and in the end his corner through the towel in. So a good win there for George Liddard in what was a step up actually for him. We also had Kieran Conway move to 23-3 with a draw. A TKO victory for him in the 4th round against Jerome Warburton, who's now 15-2 with 2 draws. That one for the Commonwealth and the vacant British Middleweight titles. Yeah, it was a bit of a slow start actually for Kieran Conway. I was beginning to worry after the first 2 rounds. There was argument that he probably lost them both. And like I say, his last performance, I think it was against Ryan Kelly, didn't really look very good there. And I was just wondering, was it kind of like, following on from his last performance? Like he just didn't really look good, looked a little bit flat. And obviously Jerome Warburton, came with the intention to win that fight. And yeah, Jerome had a good start, but yeah, Kieran Conway managed to really crank it up about round sort of 3 and, started to really land big shots on Warburton, who wore them shots. He was taking them and he was, being bothered by the power of Conway, which is something that we haven't always said for Conway's career, but he has been racking up stoppages lately, so credit to him. I think he's above this kind of level, in all honesty. I've always been a big fan of Kieran Conway. I felt extremely sorry for him when they kept just throwing him in these fights as the B-side, but he's come through some good wins, and this was another kind of good win for him. But he's picked up the vacant British there. Like I say, I actually think he can do bigger things than just British level, but it'd be nice to see him, given the opportunity to maybe win the belt outright. We'll have to wait and see there. But yeah, TKO for him in the fourth, and his corner through Warburton's corner through the towel in that fourth round. Then we move straight to the main event then, Eddie. Johnny Fisher now 13-1. He loses his a TKO loss at the hands of the Doncaster De La Hoya, Mr. Dave Allen, now 24-7 with 2 draws. Johnny Fisher down twice in the 5th round, and in the end, it was a brutal knockout. Dave Allen with the left hook in the end, I believe it was, and I think he threw a right hand just as Johnny Fisher was on his way down, which was pretty much right on the bell for the end of the 5th, and also the corner of Fisher threw the towel in, and I think Johnny Fisher, it was a face first knockout, and the towel hit the floor before Johnny Fisher. It was brutal stuff from Dave Allen, who I suppose now has got his career right back on track, despite coming in a little bit heavier than I thought he would have weighed in at. 265 pounds for this one. I'm going to come straight to you, Eddie. Fantastic for Dave Allen.
Definitely happy to see the I didn't even know that was the Doncaster De La Hoya. That's creative. And funny enough, he knocks him out with a left hook. But anyway, it was early on. It was looking like Johnny Fisher, trying to box, trying to keep away, trying to be safe and smart, and behind the jab. But from my eyes, and I, watched a lot of boxing, it just seemed like not a formality that he was going to stop him necessarily, but it just seemed as if you could see it coming with how Dave was approaching the fight, the effect of what Johnny Fisher's punches had on Dave, and the fact that he was able to kind of push him back and put him in the kind of the spots that he would have wanted him to be to land, those shots, the ones that like landing shots to the body. You just saw it coming. You know what I mean? In my opinion, that's what I seen. And it was like he was just walking him down, biding his time. Not necessarily looking for the one shot, but just making it rugged, hitting on the arms, hitting him on the body, shoulders, and also making him realize that he wasn't going anywhere throughout the fight. Like, even though Johnny Fisher landed a few good shots here and there, that might have, made some other guys step back, Dave just kept coming. So it kind of, that pressure in the mind of Johnny Fisher, I know, did some damage, even without Dave landing a major punch. Just seeing the fact that he wasn't able to deter him, you know what I mean? And then you got a guy who's coming and they can hurt you. Punches are heavy. It's just a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of difficulty, for him to deal with. And he's only got 14 fights now, and 13 previous to that, and it's just not a lot of experience in that way, especially he won 13 fights, and I think how many by knockout, Joey?
I think it was 12.
See what I'm saying? So most of the time they're bending to his will and not the other way around. So with Dave doing what he was doing, it was literally just breaking him down right in front of our eyes. You could see it. You know what I mean? And it was, I think, Dave periodically land jabs, like I said, land some shots to the body, and all the shots, it looked like really affected his psyche, more than just affecting his physical, but his mental as well. So I think, playing the mental game, keep coming, you know what I mean? That aggression, that it feels like the walls closing in on you. It kind of reminds me of when Miguel Cotto fought Antonio Margarito. It was like, and he had the loaded gloves too. So, I mean, that's part of it. But it was like you could see Cotto was moving too much. He looked uncomfortable. The punches looked like they bothered him. And that's kind of the same feel I got in this fight. It wasn't nearly as bad until the end, but it was just a serious breakdown over a short period. In the fifth round, he just, landed that crazy solid, huge left hook at the end to knock him on his nose. It was tough. It was if you're a supporter of Johnny Fisher, it's hard to look at, you know what I mean? So, but one hell of a fight for Dave. Glad to see that he's back around. It's funny to say he's getting up in age. When he was real young, I was still fighting. So it's like, damn, that's just telling me how old I am. But yeah, he's right back out there. He got himself now an opportunity for possibly another big fight. Shit, he keep hanging around. He keep doing the right things. Might find himself in a mess for a title. You never know.
Yeah, 100%. You pretty much said everything that I can say, Eddie. There's not much more for me to say there. Obviously, I'm over the moon for Dave Allen. Johnny Fisher absolutely tried his best to box. I think he was boxing quite well the first couple of rounds. He seemed to look good. But as you say, mentally, you could see it was draining him out very, very quickly. And I said it on last week's show. We both said it on last week's show. If we were Johnny Fisher, we wouldn't really fancy the rematch because it's not going to do him any good. And now looking at it, it seems like a bad move. Obviously, he lost in such a bad fashion that when they asked Dave Allen after the fight, do you want the trilogy? Dave said he's not even going to take that fight because, Johnny's not ready for it and he don't even want to put him through that again. So where does Johnny Fisher go? He's in a spot of bother now. I guess he kind of finds himself in the similar sort of situation that Babic found himself in when he lost to Johnny Fisher. It's like we've kind of seen his level now, and it's a shame. It's just a tough spot he finds himself in, and I really can't understand why the brains behind Matchroom decided to put him in with Allen again. It was never going to be a fight he was going to look great in. We saw that the first time he escaped with a gift decision, and that should have been that. He should have ran a million miles in the opposite direction, but he's paid the price now. I like the guy. I still think that he can improve and come back. He's young, much younger than Dave Allen, as you say. And yeah, but it's a tough spot he finds himself in. As for Dave Allen, he's got ambitions on winning the British title, which I think will be difficult, but that's his best option. He did also say that he'd like to, his dream would be to go on and potentially win a European title. I think that's he's got to calm down a little bit there. As much as I like the guy, beating Johnny Fisher doesn't mean that you're going to go on to win a European title. I don't want him to get too carried away. But over the moon for him. And that will close the review part down. It's now time to welcome this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former British Middleweight champion. It is, of course, Mr. Brad Pauls. Brad, welcome on the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it, mate.
I appreciate it as well, my friend. It's been a long time coming. It's great to finally get you on. I just want to touch on a couple of previous fights of yours just before we kind of get on to the current stages. I was looking down your record earlier today, and I feel like in recent years, some of the best journeymen have retired. You did share the ring with one of my absolute favourites, William Warburton, tough as old boots. Do you remember much about that fight back in 2018?
Oh yeah, that's a little trip down memory lane. That was a long time ago. Yeah, he was really decent, and he could punch a little bit. And he's difficult to look good against. He's a guy you'd go and expect to win on points, but he was a lovely bloke. And he must be half decent to do what he's done.
100%. Yeah, a really good journeyman, like I say, one of my favourites. And then, yeah, obviously getting on to the sort of highlight of your career thus far, I think it's fair to say the two back-to-back Nathan Heaney fights, two brilliant fights that pretty much had everything you could ask for as a fight fan watching on. I was lucky enough to be sat ringside in the very front row for the very first fight you had. One of the best fights I've been at. Obviously, it ended in a draw. I felt it was a very close fight. Many felt you did nick it. Yeah, if you can just cast your mind back to that first fight, Brad, tell me about that. It was excellent to be there.
Yeah, glad you enjoyed it. Glad you were so close. But it was just, it was good. It was good memories. It was one of my first-ish times on a big stage at that, so it was all still new to me, and I was still sort of getting my head around it. But once I found myself in the fight and I warmed up a bit, it sort of gelled quite well. Back and forth with Nathan, and I think we had an entertaining fight, and I feel I slightly nicked it, but I understand boxing, and I was the away fighter, so to get a draw, I can't complain, and then to get the rematch, I also can't complain. So it could have been a lot worse, but there's good memories, and it set everything up.
Yeah, I admit as well, when I saw that fight ringside, I was thinking to myself, because a lot of people in the media section were straight away talking about there has to be a rematch because it was so good. And I was saying, like, if I'm honest, I think if I'm Nathan Heaney, I don't fancy a rematch, but credit to him for taking it, as you say, just 4 months later, back in the same venue. And like you said, you finally got what was yours. That's got to be, I know that on Twitter you've got a pinned tweet saying that the best night of your career was the win for the Southern area, but surely that has to topple that.
Oh, I need to update my socials, mate. That's a right throwback. That was me knocking out Robbie Chapman years ago. Okay, I might have to change it after this. No, you're spot on. British title was the best night of my life, and I just want more of that.
And obviously that fight after that, when you attempted to defend the title against Denzel Bentley, what I remember of that fight back in December, I thought, and you can correct me if you feel I'm wrong, I thought that Bentley started quite well, but then in the sort of mid to late rounds, I felt that you really came on and you were in a groove. And then obviously Bentley got that knockdown in the 10th. That kind of sealed the win for him, I believe. Tell me about that fight, because boxing-wise, I'd honestly say that you're probably a more well-rounded fighter than Bentley, but Bentley's got that really kind of awkward style that causes a lot of fighters issues.
Yeah, I rate Denzel highly, and he's got extremely long arms, hits quite hard, and he's hard to look good against. I'm not saying it would have changed the result or anything like this. I'm not one to win or anything, but I was normally liking a big finish to a fight, 10, 11, 12. And obviously the fractured eye socket in the 10th, I went fully blind, and it was just sort of getting through the fight, tried to knuckle down and win them rounds, but it's difficult with one eye, and Denzel could sense I was a little bit vulnerable with one eye, so but it's all experience, and for me, like, I know Denzel's above British level. If you look what he does with the domestic lads, he just normally ices them. So I sort of proved myself at that level, but it's just how it goes. A little lesson on the way, but I feel like I'm going to come back better and stronger. So, yeah.
And talk to me, Brad, about the recovery process there from the fractured eye socket. How long did it take? What did it consist of, the actual recovery?
It was actually sweet. I just obviously went to doctors that night and then didn't spar for December, 2.5 months. Then I started sparring, it was fine. I got it checked over. It was absolutely fine. No, nothing wrong with my vision. I've passed all my medicals. It was just give me a bit of time out of the ring, but nothing permanent.
Thank God. And obviously, like you saying, you know, you've kind of had a taste of the big time, if you like. You're coming off 3 fights on the big stage, on TV, a win, a loss, and a draw. It's not the worst run. Your next fight goes down on the 31st in Devon. I'm guessing this is kind of a tick-over fight. What is the plan, or is there a plan?
For me, I need to get back in the ring. I've been at the ring. It'll be over 6 months by the time I get in there. It's a tick-over fight, but it's an 8-rounder, so it's going to be good to really get some good solid rounds in. Got a really durable guy coming in, because I have a feeling the fight after this is going to be a bigger one, and I want to give myself every opportunity. So I've took an 8-rounder with a durable opponent to really shake off the ring rust. And then we'll see what happens after. Obviously, the middleweights are all over the place at the minute with the mandatories for the British, who the British champion is, if they're going to. It's all over the place. So I don't have an exact plan, but I'd love to get my British title back. So we'll see how that pans out.
And you say there, Brad, about you feel like the next fight is going to be a big one after this. I don't want to push you too hard on that, but do you know something that you can't say, or is there nothing solid yet?
It's I'd say wishful thinking. Just putting it out there to the universe, you know. Like, I feel like it'd be nice to get back on them TV shows, and I've noticed a few. Well, there's a massive show in Bournemouth in July, and I've been pestering people on social media to get me on it, because it makes complete sense. I'd sell a shed load of tickets, and I'd be coming off with a win. So we'll see if Mr. Frank Warren would have me back. But yeah, in an ideal world, that would be the situation.
Yeah, just to confirm, that's the Ryan Garner card. Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, brilliant card.
Yeah, I'd love to see you on that. And again, you talk about a possible big fight. Are there any names in mind? I have a name that personally, I'm not going to say unless you mention it, but I would like this guy for you as a comeback fight. But yeah, tell me what you think, if there are any names.
I'm not one to call out specific people. Like, it's never personal. Obviously, I just want the belts. I don't mind fighting for the British again, and that's if Conway would pick me. I've had a few people mention I should fight the guy who knocked out Nathan Heaney. I can't say his name properly. Something Catty, I think, which I think would be a good fight. But there's so many good fights, so I'm open for all of them.
Okay, I'm not going to say my name now because I feel like it's a little bit of a drop down from that sort of level, in all honesty.
Drop down. God, I'm trying to think who it could be then. I'm trying to think of the top 10. Top 10. There's like Lidars, Sains,
they're sort of guys on the come up that are supposed to be the next big thing. I tell you who I was honestly thinking of as a comeback fight. I think you'd win the fight, but I think it's a good kind of comeback fight. Jack McGann. Yeah,
happily take that. Is he not super welter?
No, I think he's at middle now.
Middle, okay, yeah. If you want to chat to Frank and get that all made up, I'd happily take that one. That's it, mate. That fight makes sense as well. Like, he's trying to get his name back up. I'm trying to get my name back up. It's sort of like when it goes on, isn't it? So, yeah, let's see. There's loads of good fights.
There you go. I think I've just called someone out for you. Yeah. When this fight's done, I think it's important to mention on the 31st, obviously, once the fight's done, it will be exactly half of the year gone. I know that obviously it's been probably a little bit frustrating. You last boxed in December. It's not too long ago. But I just wanted to know if maybe you wanted to kind of set like a goal for yourself in the second half of the year. Again, I know that politics and things that are completely out of your control play a massive factor. But in a realistic world, what can you set yourself as that goal?
That's a really good question, you know. Obviously, activity is key, and I'll plan, hopefully, to have 3 fights in the second half of the year. I'd love to get this one out of the way. I'd love to have a high-level, decent fight in July. And if the stars align, I can have a shot at the British title by the end of the year. I'd be the happiest man in the world. So, in an ideal world, that'd be it. But boxing's crazy. It can change real fast, and a lot can change in a few months. So we'll see. We'll see what opportunities come.
I honestly, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, I honestly feel like, you know, a lot of boxing fans would love to see you back on the big stages, because in any of them fights, even the Bentley fight, which obviously wound up in a loss, you didn't disgrace yourself in any of them. You came in good shape for every single fight. You were good value for everyone. Everyone says that. Like, you're a fantastic made for TV type of fighter, Brad.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. That means a lot. And that's me. I think I'm a little bit wasted on Small Hall. No one's really going to see what I'm about, and from the glimpse that you've seen, it's a bit more of that. I've trained my absolute arse off. I'm super disciplined. I sell as many tickets as I can, and I love a tear up. And you'll never ever see me pack it in a fight. I'll always give my absolute all, because it means the world. And I think that mentality can gel for good fights. I'm just everything I've got every single time. So you'd think a promoter would like it and want it on their shows, but that's out of my control. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you see me on TV more and people can see the style.
It's funny because there's another Brad. I'm good friends with Brad Ray, who's also been in a similar situation, being on the Small Hall circuit, and I feel like he's also wasted down at, off TV as well. It's funny, yeah. It's the same name.
Yeah, that's it, same. And he's a brilliant fighter, and he lost to Denny, didn't he? Lost to Denny.
Denny as well. Yeah, you both lost to Denny.
Both lost to Denny, and then it's just sort of, and that's all it takes. It just takes one little. But boxing's so fickle. It doesn't. Just what I like about the UFC is, okay, you lose, try again in a few months, and it's not as detrimental. But in boxing, it's like your whole value is just disintegrated after one loss, and it's like not everyone's Mayweather. It doesn't really work like that. But yeah, it's a shame to see. There's a lot of good lads who won't get a crack on TV, and it's a shame.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Talking of a guy with a few losses who has had a good crack on TV, we're going to go back to last weekend. Dave Allen getting that excellent stoppage win over Johnny Fisher. I know you saw it. What a brilliant KO.
Yeah. It was brilliant. Yeah, I love boxing sometimes. It's mad to think Dave Allen's a year older than me. Don't you feel like I feel like he should be 38 or 39. He's been here forever. But it's finally nice to see him get his flowers. He's always been the bridesmaid, never the bride. And it was like he's finally got his moment. So it was lovely to see, lovely knockout. I actually thought Fisher was doing well for a majority of the fight. You can see he was trying to learn and pace himself, but it was just, I think, a matter of time before Allen got to him. And I bet on round 6. So I was fuming. But yeah, it was a brilliant fight. Loved it.
Yeah, it really was. It was a great fight. Just before we let you go, Brad, if you've got any closing words just to the listeners, you can say anything you like whatsoever. You can thank sponsors. You can say something that I completely accidentally left out. Whatever you like, my friend. The floor's yours.
Thank you everyone for listening. Keep an eye on the socials. Big fight next week, and then we move on. Yeah, keep the faith. Big fight's coming back on TV soon. Peace and love.
And also, Brad, there's still a couple of tickets left, if I'm not mistaken, for your fight.
Yeah, there's a couple of tickets left. We're starting to run low, which is good, but there's still a few. So if you want to come watch a good night of boxing, give us a message.
And they're very affordable tickets as well, so give Brad a message on socials. Like I say, Brad, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck on the 31st, my friend, and we'll speak sometime after the fight, I'm sure.
Nice one, mate. Thank you for having me. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. There hasn't always been news, but we are back this week with a piece of news. And what we have is that it's finally been announced Jack Catterall in a comeback fight against Harlem Eubank. That one to be going down on July the 5th, live on DAZN in Manchester. Yeah, I mean, some people are actually picking Harlem Eubank. Both guys friends of the show, made a best man win. But I cannot see Jack Catterall losing that at all. We also have another fight that's been made for July 26th. It's going to be going down in Bournemouth. We've got Ryan the Piranha Garner stepping in with Reece Bellotti, which I think is a fantastic fight. It's a case of Bellotti KO or Garner points, I think. I don't think Bellotti's going to get stopped, but it's going to be very exciting to see because Bellotti can really be frustrated by good boxers. We know that Garner's a pressure fighter. Bellotti doesn't take a step backwards either. So I think that's going to be a really, really good fight that we're going to see there in Bournemouth. Like I say, the date for that is July 26th. Moving now then to the preview part of the show. This one goes down tomorrow in Doncaster. We have Joe Hayden, 17-0 in an 8-rounder here against Lewis Booth, 16-1. That's a step up really for both guys there. All the best to both men. We also have for the IBO Continental Lightweight title, which is currently vacant, a 10-rounder here between Reece Mould, 20-3, and Lewis Sylvester, 15-1. That one loss came to Sam Noakes. That could be interesting there. I would definitely favour Reece Mould, but I think that could be interesting while it lasts. Lewis Sylvester's not a bad boxer. We also have Terry Harper, 15-2, defending her WBO lightweight world title, which she won last time against Rhiannon Dixon, if I'm not mistaken. She's back in a 10-2s contest against the undefeated 13-0 Natalie Zimmerman. And then all eyes to what I think is actually the chief support rather than the main event, but it should be the main event. We've got Maxie Hughes, 28-7 with 2 draws. This one's for the WBC silver lightweight title, a 10-rounder against Archie Sharp, friend of the show, 25-1, coming off his sole career defeat at the hands of Ryan Garner, a man that we just mentioned a moment ago. It's a fight that I've been looking forward to for such a long time, ever since it was made. I'll tell you one thing, I didn't say it on the podcast at the time because it was kind of irrelevant, but I went down to the gym to watch Archie Sharp train about 2 weeks ago, I'd say it was now, maybe slightly less than that. And when I walked in the gym, he was hitting the bag and I was astonished at how big he looked, how muscular he looked. This is his first fight up at lightweight, so he's moved up from from super feather to lightweight. So it's only a 5 pound increase there. But I tell you what, he looked an absolute unit. His back was massive. He looked so strong, and he was smashing the bag. I was very surprised. That 5 pounds on him looked so good. He looked the picture of health. He looked super fit and strong, like I say. And I am so excited to see how this is going to unfold, because I think a lot of people are writing Archie Sharp off. Obviously, we know last time against Ryan Garner, I felt it was a close fight, but you know, he decided to box completely Ryan Garner's fight. Maxie Hughes is more of a boxer, and I think this is going to be more of a chess match. It might not make for the most entertaining fight, but I am 100% going with Archie Sharp to win this fight. Again, I'm not trying to entice anyone into betting money on it. I have bet some money on it, but Archie Sharp being a 3-1, maybe even slightly bigger underdog than that, for me is crazy. I know that Maxie Hughes has, you know, he's beaten some great fighters. I mean, look at Gary Cully. That's just an insane win. You look at Gary Cully and you think, if Maxie Hughes can beat a 6'4" or 6'3", whatever Gary Cully is, southpaw lightweight who can punch, then he can absolutely beat anyone almost, you know. We've seen him go to the States and beat George Kambosos and get robbed on the cards. But yeah, I really think this is going to be Archie Sharp's night. And if it's not to be his night, then he finds himself in a very difficult spot, because he was once upon a time ranked number 1 in the world with the WBO at super feather, and racking up 2 back-to-back losses will be a bad thing for him. And obviously this is his first fight at the weight, so if he loses to Maxie Hughes, unfortunately, Maxie's one of them guys, you lose to him and there's not many options after that, I feel. So this is a must-win fight for Archie Sharp. He knows that, and I'm backing him to get the job done. I really fancy him to get the job done. I think that Maxie Hughes is going to be quite surprised when he gets hit with the first backhand off Archie Sharp. I think he's going to be quite surprised with that. Let's move on then to the Intex Osaka in Osaka, Japan. We have over here on the Saturday, friend of the show Angelo Leo, 25-1, coming off of his last fight, which was against I forget the guy's name now, but it was like a knockout of the year type of punch against what's the guy's name, man? He kept beating. He kept beating everyone. Mexican fighter. Completely forgot his name. Forget it. Anyway, 25-1. He's defending that IBF world title over 12 rounds against Tomoki Kameda, 42-4. All the best to Angelo Leo. Moving now then to the SSE Hydro in Glasgow, Scotland. This one's going to be live on DAZN on Saturday. So like I say, boxing on Friday and Saturday. Both decent cards. We have over here Alois Yumbi, 9-1, back in a 10-rounder at cruiserweight against David Jameson, who's 13-3. I've definitely seen that name before, Jameson. I want to say that he could have boxed... I want to say it was like Alan Babich or Johnny Fisher, but I could be completely wrong, so I'm going to have a little look. He lost to Chev Clark and Mikael Lawal. Okay, that's where I got it from. All right, so all the best there to Alois Yumbi. We also have on that card Moses Italma, 11-0, back in a 10-rounder against the USA's Mike Balogun, who is a 6'1" southpaw from... from Maryland, I believe, and he's only got the one loss in it. You know, his record's 21-1, 16 KOs. The one loss came at the hands of Murat Gassiev, so he steps in with Moses Italma. That should be fun while it lasts for sure. Both men can bang. We also have on the card Nathaniel Collins, 16-0, fighting here for the vacant WBC silver featherweight title in a 12-rounder against Lee McGregor, who's 15-1-1. Lee McGregor last time out beating Isaac Lowe. I favour Nathaniel Collins quite heavily in this one, to be honest with you. Lee McGregor at one point looked red hot. I thought, wow, this guy's going to go on to do massive things. But ever since kind of drawing with that Diego Ruiz guy back at York Hall in 2022, he's kind of not looked as good as he did look. And obviously he picked up a loss after that, in Scotland. He's fighting here against Nathaniel Collins, who's banging form, in my opinion. He's looked really good in recent times. So, yeah, I think that Nathaniel Collins will win this one, probably on points. But, that's going to be a really, really good fight. And it really is against two of the absolute best at the weight in the country, in Scotland, in the country. So, yeah, it's a shame that they have to meet each other, unfortunately, and one of them has to lose. But it's a great fight there for Scotland. It's as good as it gets. And then the main event is Josh Taylor, 19-2, stepping in with Echo Esserman, 21-1 for the WBO International Welterweight title, which is currently vacant. Again, it's somewhat of an interesting fight because it's just a case of what does Josh Taylor have left. He's coming off 2 back-to-back losses. His last win was over 3 years ago to Jack Catterall. He's been very inactive. 1 fight in 2020, 1 fight in 2021, 1 fight in 2022, 1 fight in 2023, and one fight in 2024. So literally, 1 fight a year since 2020. That's just not good enough. And I think we've kind of seen that in his last couple of fights. Like I say, losing to Teofimo Lopez, no disgrace there, and losing to Jack Catterall in their rematch. I wonder how much hunger he's got for this fight. That's my only kind of concern, because can he get up for an Echo Esserman after being in there with, he's been on a cracking run. You look back at his record: Victor Postel, Ryan Martin, Ivan Baranchik, Regis Prograis, Jose Ramirez, Jack Catterall, Teofimo Lopez, Jack Catterall again. He's now stepping in with a guy at a much lower level, really. But Echo Esserman's a good fighter, a capable fighter. He's busy. I can see him outworking Josh Taylor at times. So Josh Taylor needs to be tidy with his boxing. We know that he's got the skills. We know that he's got the power. And, he's got the ring IQ. But it's just a case of how hard has he trained, how much does he want it at this point in his career, and is he there mentally for this fight? So I wouldn't really fancy backing either guy in that one. I just think it's one of them fights. You could see it going wrong for Josh Taylor, but also you wouldn't really fancy backing Esserman, in my opinion. So let's just look at those odds really, really quickly, actually. Esserman is 5-2. Josh Taylor's 3-10. Okay. We're going to move on then. We're going to move on now to the final card to mention. It's just a small one. I probably should have mentioned this earlier on, but it's happening on Sunday, May the 25th. Just one fight to mention in Poland. We have former world champion Krzysztof Wlodarczyk back in the ring. I think he retired. He's back now. He's having his 71st fight. He's 65-4 with a draw. He's back in a 12-rounder at heavyweight against Adam Bałski, former victim of Alan Babic. He's 20-2. All the best there to Big Krzysztof. That then brings the preview part to a close. In part 1, we did the review part. Then we welcomed our special guest. In part 2, we did the news and the preview part just there. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 500 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A massive shout out to this week's special guest, the former middleweight British champion, Mr. Brad Pauls. The biggest thanks of all goes out to you, the listeners. Thanks once again for tuning in, particularly this week. 500 episodes. We couldn't have done it without you. It's been a heck of a ride, and there's still much more to come, I really hope. Just before this ends and I stop speaking, I just want to give a little moment here just to bring something to some of you, some of your attentions. It's the tragic loss today, literally today, the 22nd of May. We lost another angel in the boxing world, that angel being Georgia O'Connor. A massive rest in peace to Georgia O'Connor, who has so sadly lost her life to cancer today. So please, if you're religious, if you say if you say a prayer here and there, please, if you can, say a prayer for Georgia and her family. It's such a tragic story. If you go on her Instagram and look at some of the posts when she was really ill, they're really, really sad. Honestly, it's not something that I recommend doing. I didn't know her personally or anything like that, but I had a little look today, and it was really tough. It's really sad stuff. She got married, I believe, just 13 days ago. So it's amazing she got to do that before she went, but it's just such a sad loss to the whole of the boxing world. She was only 25 years of age. Gone way too soon, Georgia, and we're all thinking of you.